Hello, my name is Megan Hollenbach and I will be covering the basics of extension development in ThingWorx, otherwise known as Extensions 101. The topics I will be covering are what is an extension, why we build an extension, the prerequisites to building an extension, how to install the Eclipse plugin and features of the plugin, how to create entities with the plugin, and also including exported entities into an extension project that originated from ThingWorx, how to upgrade or update an existing extension that was imported into ThingWorx, and finally, building with either Gradle or Ant. Getting started. What is an extension? An extension in ThingWorx is a set of entities that provide additional functionality to the platform that was not previously seen with the out-of-the-box version of ThingWorx. Extensions are written in Java when adding core platform functionality and can include XML-based entities that house custom JavaScript services. Extensions can also be written in JavaScript and CSS when creating widgets for mashups. Why build an extension? Building an extension for ThingWorx can be useful for a few reasons in particular. If you want to hide the source code of your custom services, you can do this by writing them in Java instead of JavaScript. If there is custom functionality you want for a widget that does or does not yet exist, writing a custom extension can allow you to implement this or modify existing functionality. If you want to add a new resource that houses services to be used globally throughout ThingWorx, if custom authentication is desired for integration with your company's SSO or Active Directory, an extension can be used to create this functionality. When selecting the authenticator in the Eclipse plugin, we automatically generate the framework functions that need to be exercised for proper authentication, and you can implement your own method of authentication within this framework. Additionally, if there is some third-party library that provides useful functionality, you can create a custom extension to pull that library into ThingWorx and utilize it. There may also be a need to rely on other extensions that already include functionality you need for your extension. You can package up multiple extensions into one so that end users can import your extension easily without having to worry about importing any dependencies first. Prerequisites. There are a few prerequisites that need to be followed before getting started. The version of ThingWorx where extension development really changed was version 6.6, so any ThingWorx version in that major minor release or later, 7.0, 7.1, 7.2, etc., will be compatible with the Eclipse plugin. If developing for version 6.5 of ThingWorx, you will not be able to use the Eclipse plugin. If you plan on debugging your extension, you'll need access to the file system of the server where the Tomcat instance for ThingWorx is deployed. That will allow you to enable necessary debugger flags in Tomcat or run Tomcat in debug mode. Developing on an instance of ThingWorx hosted on your local machine is sometimes a preferred option rather than testing on a development environment with multiple users accessing the system. Being able to start and stop Tomcat whenever you need to is extremely beneficial when developing extensions. Extensions should always be tested prior to them being deployed on a production environment to ensure that nothing breaks upon it being deployed. Java's JDK 8 will be necessary and can be downloaded from Oracle's website. You will also need a downloaded copy of the ThingWorx Extension SDK package that has the same or an earlier version number of the ThingWorx version you are developing for. Always test your extension on different versions of ThingWorx if you are not targeting a specific version. Eclipse Mars 4.5 or later is needed, the Eclipse plugin for ThingWorx from the ThingWorx Marketplace, and you may potentially need the Gradle STS plugin for Eclipse as versions of ThingWorx after 7.2 support building projects with Gradle or Ant. Gradle STS is the only plugin supported at this time with ThingWorx. If you are building with Ant, you do not need to worry about installing the Gradle plugin. The build option is selected upon initially creating the project. Section 2. The Eclipse plugin. Installing the Eclipse plugin. I've included the link to the Eclipse plugin on this slide. The steps to install the plugin are rather simple. Basically, we are downloading the plugin, opening Eclipse, navigating to the Install New Software menu, finding our download on our local file system, and selecting the ThingWorx Extension Builder option in the dialog that appears. Then we can just accept the license and restart Eclipse, and everything is ready to go. You can also verify that the installation worked by clicking the Help menu and Installation Details. You should then see the ThingWorx Extension Builder in the list of installed plugins. Updates are always being released, so the option to update is simple as well. you will see an Update button at the bottom of the same verification dialog. Just click on the ThingWorks Extension Builder line item and then click the Update button to proceed. I have a quick example here. If we click on Help, go down to Installation Details, and we can see that I previously have installed the ThingWorks Extension Builder. The Update button is located down here in case you need to update, and the Uninstall button is right next to it in case something goes wrong. You can also see that in the same Help menu, the Install New Software menu is located right above Installation Details. So I've actually gone ahead and uninstalled the plugin, and I'll walk you through installing it right now. So we'll click on Install New Software. We need to find the local archive on our system, so we want to hit Add. Now we're looking for the plugin that we had just downloaded. I've got it saved right here. I want to open up that, hit OK. Now you see this ThingWorks. If I uncheck Group Items by Category, you'll see ThingWorks Extension Builder. But to go back to that view, we just want to select that. We're going to want to hit Next. So now it's going to take a couple minutes or seconds to calculate the requirements and dependencies. So we'll let that spin. Once that's complete, the next button will be highlighted. So let's click the next button. Some licensing if you'd like to read it, fairly lengthy. Just hit I accept the terms of the license agreement upon completion, and then hit Finish. Now we'll watch Eclipse install this new software. Expand the details. This will again take a couple seconds to complete. You'll get this warning about halfway through. Just say OK. We can expand the details to see what's going on, but if you don't hit OK, it's not going to install the plugin. Alright, and now it's prompting us to restart, so let's go ahead and do that. Now upon Eclipse restarting, we'll go ahead and we'll confirm that this plugin was successfully installed. Now we see that it has. You can click Properties if you want to view anything else about it. There's that license again. We can close this dialog. In the upcoming slides, I'll show you how to make the ThingWorks menus available for you to start using the plugin. Features of the plugin. There are a few different places you can find features of the plugin added to the Eclipse menu options. The first one I want to cover is the ThingWorks extension perspective that has been added. This is found under the Eclipse Windows menu, and then Perspective and Open Perspective menu. If it is not in the list by default, just click on the Other button, which is another menu option, to see a larger list of perspectives to choose from. Upon selecting the ThingWorks extension perspective, Eclipse will change things around and activate other menu options throughout the Eclipse IDE. Once this perspective has been selected at least one time, it will then always appear in the toolbar with the other available perspectives. This toolbar can most likely be seen in the top right corner of Eclipse. The next menu that has been added is the ThingWorks menu across Eclipse's main toolbar. This drop-down allows you to get a jump start in creating any one of the listed items. The Thing template, Thing shape, and resource items will tell Eclipse to dynamically generate the class and metadata entry for those specific entities. The widget item asks for a widget name and then generates the necessary JavaScript and CSS files inside of a new UI folder in the chosen project. The Authenticator and Directory Service items create a class file for either custom authentication extension type and generate a skeleton outline of the functions you will need to implement to create a working authenticator. A script function library will allow you to create any number of new services to be used as code snippets in a custom service on an entity in ThingWorks. The out-of-the-box libraries available are located at ThingWorks/script function libraries, which can be accessed via a browser URL. And an example of one is the date functions that include functions such as date add milliseconds and date add hours. Adding a jar resource to a project is a quick way to move a jar file you need into the project's lib directory and build path. If you need to remove it, you must delete it from lib and the build path manually. The extension migrator is a very handy feature if you're looking to change a property on a thing template. Let's say you need to update all the things that use this thing template. This is done by exporting all entities in your existing environment, getting a clean server, import the new extension that has the change you want to take effect on your entities, and then import the export of your entities. The migrator will make all the changes necessary as they are coded in the class. A third menu can be accessed when right-clicking on a class file in the project. This will display a ThingWorx source menu item that allows you to quickly add a service, property, configuration table, subscription, or event to that class. The final place where a few menu options are accessed is seen when right-clicking on the project itself. Hovering over the New menu option, you will see the same list as the ThingWorx menu and the ability to create a new ThingWorx extension project. Just to review, I've opened up Eclipse. What you're going to want to do to activate all these menus, because as you can see we don't have the ThingWorx menu option available at the moment, you can either go to Window, Perspective, Open Perspective, Other, and select ThingWorx Extension, which is also down here. And this seems to be remnants from when I uninstalled the ThingWorx extension plugin, so we can close that. Now you'll see in the top right corner is the toolbar I was talking about with your available perspectives, and this is typically the most recently used perspective, so if you continuously have the ThingWorx one open, it will continue to appear up there. So now what I was talking about is this new ThingWorx menu that's added to the main Eclipse IDE toolbar. This is where you can see your template shape resource options, the ability to create a widget, the two types of authentication, the new authenticator or the new directory service. You can also add your script function library, the jar resource, or the extension migrator. Now I had previously created a dummy project testing the 7.2 SDK, and when I right click on this, the new menu, you can see I have the ability to create a new ThingWorx extension project from here, which will set up all the necessary folders and build files that you need. You can also see all of the available options that were in the ThingWorx menu above. Let's quickly walk through creating a custom thing template in our extension. So when we have this new menu open, we see thing template, we want to click this. We see the source folder it's placing it in, our default source directory over here. We have no package created in this project. You typically want to create something other than the default package, but that'll be fine for now. We'll need to give it a name. We'll go with testing thing template. You need to specify what base thing template it's working off of. So by default it specifies the generic thing, but you can change this to a data table thing. If there's any shapes you want implemented, you can specify those here, your description, and then this additional information you can specify, but it's not necessary. Typically I just hit finish, but we'll hit next. Because this opens up another menu option available, you can specify if you want it as an editable extension entity. If this is not checked, you will not be able to modify it in Composer. And if this is checked, you can add properties and services to the thing template in Composer. So let's go ahead and click finish. And you can see that this annotation was generated. At ThingWorx base template definition, we're specifying that our base thing template is the data table thing template. You can see our class is called the testing thing template, the name we provided. It's extending a thing, and then you have your constructor. Now if I go down into my metadata, this should have automatically generated a new thing package and a thing template. Now when I go ahead, I'll close this. Let's just delete this. We can see that it's located in our default package. Go ahead and delete this. Let's open up our metadata again. And we can see that the thing package and thing template reference has been removed as well. One of the very cool menu options that you have the ability to use is when you right click on a class file, come down to ThingWorx source, and you have the ability to automatically generate a service, property, configuration table, subscription, or event. So let's take a look. If I open up one of these classes, We can see this has nothing in it. It's basically bare bones. Come in here. Want to add a new service. The Megan service. I have the ability to add my input parameters. You can select any ThingWorks base type that we offer. So let's go with a long. You have the ability to set the aspects of the parameter as well. I don't need these right now. Let's check required. Now my service output parameter is called result. I can have a description and I can even specify my return type there. Now when I click finish, everything is in place as I requested it, and I have a new automatically generated service. Section 3, Extensions. What can I extend? In previous versions of the Extension SDK prior to version 7.2, you needed to extend a thing template with another thing template entity, such as a data table, for the class to inherit that thing template services. In version 7.2 and later, you can now use the wizard to create a new thing template and specify what the class's base thing template should be for the template you are creating. An annotation called ThingWorks Base Template Definition, as I showed earlier, will be automatically generated in the class and is how ThingWorks will know what base template to use for the template you've created. Thing templates can be created from any other available thing template in the ThingWorks application. This includes things like a remote thing or file repository. In the first image on this slide, you will see how the extends data table thing class definition line appeared prior to the annotations we use today. There are some entity types in ThingWorks that are not used to extend a Java class. The thing shape is one of those. It is not used to extend a Java class and is instead mapped to one in the metadata.xml file. The class name aspect, in the second image on this slide, will tell the ThingWorks extension you are building this thing shape off of this class file. We are using this class file to define the services, properties, events, and subscriptions that we want to include in the thing shape we are creating. Data shapes, model tag vocabularies, style and state definitions, media, menus, mashups, etc. can all be created in Composer, exported, and imported into the extension project. There is no means to create a mashup in an extension at this point in time, so you must first make it in Composer exactly how you would like to release it to anyone downloading your extension, and then import it into your extension package. Entities such as subsystems are not available to be created in an extension at all. Other entities, such as things, vocabularies, and data shapes, can be created dynamically in helper functions of a Java class, if needed, as well as a few more entity types I have not mentioned. When you download the Extension SDK, there will be an API jar included that will help you identify what functions you have access to and their metadata. Importing Composer-created entities. In the previous slide, I mentioned that you can import entities you've created from ThingWorks into your extension project. You can easily import existing entities into a project in 3 steps. This is useful when you've modeled your extension application in ThingWorks Composer and want to quickly pull all of that work into the actual extension project. You can currently only build mashups in Composer, as I mentioned before, so if you need to include a mashup in your extension, you will want to do it in the following way. Step 1. You'll first click on the File menu in Eclipse and select the Import menu option from the dropdown. Next, you will browse to the directory that your entities were exported from ThingWorks and select one or more of those files to import. You may have exported your entities in a variety of different ways, but a good option here is to use tags in Composer to export the grouping of entities you wish to import into the extension. Finally, you'll select the project you are importing to in the currently active workspace and click Finish. The entities will then be under the project in an entities directory. I'm now going to show you how to do this through Eclipse. So we'll come over to Eclipse. We're going to go to the File menu, go to the Import option. You see a big list of things here that we can select, but we want to come down to the ThingWorks menu, expand it, click on Entities, click Next. Now this is where we got to go find what folder our entities are located in. So I did a quick export to my Downloads folder of just a dummy entity, so I'm going to select that. So you can see in here there's one XML file. It's a Steam sensor gateway I've created. So now I need to browse for the project I want to add this entity to. Since I only have one ThingWorks extension project, I'll just select that. It was selected by default. Hit OK. Override existing resources without warning. I don't need to worry about this. If I were to have a Steam sensor gateway in there already, I would want to check this so I could override it without any prompts. But for now, I just want to click Finish. It seems to have worked, but didn't exit out. So here it's prompting me to override. So we can tell that it worked. So let's just say no. Let's hit Cancel. That didn't really go as planned, but we can see that we have an entities directory in our project now, a downloads folder from where I pulled this from, and our Steam Sensor Gateway. Upgrading extensions. The metadata.xml file in the config files directory of the project needs to be modified if doing an in-place upgrade of an extension. If the package version is not changing, you will need to remove the extension from ThingWorks through the Manage Extensions menu option under the Import-Export menu in Composer to clean the extension from ThingWorks completely. You will also then need to restart Tomcat to clear out Tomcat's memory that the extension ever existed, so no cached files are being looked at. That could potentially cause an issue when importing an updated version of the extension. In the first image on this slide, you will see the attribute package version has a 200. This is the major, minor, and patch version of the extension. Changing just the patch number will be enough for you to do an in-place upgrade. If a major version is being released, though, you will need to completely remove the extension and all of its corresponding entities from ThingWorks and restart Tomcat prior to importing a new major version. The error message in the second image on this slide is seen upon the validation step of the import when a major version change took place, but you forgot to remove the previous extension first. Building with Gradle and Ant. Gradle and Ant are included as two different options to build your extension project and can be selected upon creating a new ThingWorks extension project. You can see in the first image in the top left of this slide is where you're specifying, under the ThingWorks extension properties section, the build framework. There's two radio buttons. You can select either Gradle or Ant. To run the Gradle STS build, right-click on the build.gradle file and hover over Run As and select Gradle STS Build. After clicking on the Gradle STS Build menu option, an Edit Configuration dialog will appear on First Configuration to allow for tasks to be specified. After this initial configuration, it will remember the tasks that you have specified and run them automatically until you make further changes. I didn't show either of the Ant or Gradle build files because they do not have to be modified unless specific circumstances call for it and you need to modify what is included in the extension package. This could be anything from including external DLL files or just modifying the basic folder directories that you want to build into your zip file. I also didn't display any images of what the Ant build looks like because all you need to do is right-click on the build extensions.xml file that's generated after you create your new ThingWorks extension project and select the option under Run As to build as an Ant build. The extension will be zipped up and created automatically for you. I'm going to quickly go over how to build a Gradle project and an Ant project. So right now I have a Gradle project in my workspace, so we'll expand it. You'll find your build.gradle file down here. Now I've built this before, so I'm going to open this a little differently. I'm going to open it with the Gradle STS build ... So this will allow me to change the tasks I've specified. I currently have clean and build, and we can leave that go. So if I hit run, you'll see in the console down here that we've started a Gradle build. And that's basically it. You'll see if your build has been successful or not. So let me try and break the build. Alright, so this, we can save it, but it most likely, it will not work. You'll see an error upon compilation failure. It'll give you some error messages on where you can find the issue at. Obviously, that is not proper Java syntax. So let's just delete that and close it and move on to the Ant build. So what I'm going to do here is create a new project. We can call it whatever we want. I'll call it Testing Ant. We want to change the build framework. we want to browse for our SDK location. So I have the 7.0 and 7.2 SDK on my local system. I'm going to select 7.2. Alright, I can change my packet version if I so desire. I'm going to leave that go. You can change the vendor. I'll identify who I am. I usually hit finish, but we'll hit next to see the available options. Here you can add pre-existing files if you'd like. You can add external jars. Do whatever you need to get your project up and running. So let's hit finish. Now I have this nice new project. I don't have any source files, but we can add a new package in here. So I'll just show you how to add a package real quick. And call it new package. We just click finish. And then in this package, we can add a new thing template class. Again, we went over this earlier, but I'm just going to do this for practice. I'm going to leave all this go and just hit finish. So let's say I'm ready to build this now, and I want to get a zip file that I can import into ThingWorks. So I'll come down here, and all you need to do with Ant is right click it, go to Run As, select Ant Build. Same thing, the console will tell you what's going on. I can see that my build was successful. And that's basically it for building the projects. Now to find them in your file system, I have a workspace set up. You can see my two projects here. So we go into the Ant build. We can see our entire project structure. The ThingWorks lib folder is going to contain any jars that you've imported. This is right now just the extension SDK. The source is obviously your package and the source files. The lib folder is where any jars that you've added to the project through the ThingWorks menu for adding a new jar resource will be stored. Config files contains your metadata.xml file, which if you've ever exported an entity from ThingWorks, you'll see a very similar structure between the two. So I'll open that up right now. This is the XML editor, so actually you want to come here and hit Open with Text Editor, get a cleaner view. You can see that we have a couple of nested XML tags. We have a minimum ThingWorks version aspect defined. We have our package version defined up here, the vendor I specified earlier, and the name of our package. And then below that, because I've generated a thing template, the testing thing template, it's automatically generated those XML markups for me. So if I come back to my file system, I have three other folders. I don't have to worry about settings. This is my workspace settings for the project. The bin is just going to have your generated class files and your jar. And then the build is where you're going to find your distributions. So if we go in here, we can see this will be our extension package that we want to import into ThingWorks. Same thing with the Gradle build. If I back out, we have a couple more folders because I did some other stuff. I imported some entities, which you can find in there. And that's also visible in the Package Explorer. We can see that we have the entities folder. But same thing, we have a lib, a source, a ThingWorks lib, and a config files, as well as the build, bin, and settings file. There's also this Gradle folder you don't need to worry about. And then there's also this UI directory that was created because I had generated a widget for my extension. And you'll see in here the widget name and the appropriate images, CSS, and JavaScript files. And again, same thing with the build for Gradle. If you come into build, sorry, my last build failed, so you won't actually see anything in here until this successfully builds again, so let's do that. Since it cleans it, it had deleted my zip file. So this time I've built successfully, and I can see in here now I have a couple new generated folders. I have my distributions, and there's my extension. Here are a few links that will take you to helpful resources related to extension development. The first link directs you to the marketplace where you can download other extensions and the Eclipse plugin. The second link takes you to the extension development guide for further information regarding extensions that I did not cover in this presentation. And the last link is to the ThingWorx Help Center, where you can review the API and additional ThingWorx information. That's all I have for you today in Extensions 101. I hope you all enjoyed the content and are ready to get started creating some awesome extensions. Thank you from PTC ThingWorx, and have a great day.